Before we begin, I want you to think about the most exhausted you have ever felt in your entire life. That bone-deep tired where your legs shake and your eyes burn and you cannot remember the last time you slept through the night. Now imagine feeling that way every single day for years. Imagine being so tired that when someone asks you what you dream about, you do not say love or money or adventure, you say rest. Just one day to breathe. This is the story of a woman who asked for one day off and ended up building a whole new life. But the road to get there was paved with secrets, betrayal, and a truth so painful it nearly destroyed everything. If you have ever felt invisible, if you have ever worked yourself to the bone while others took credit, if you have ever wondered if things would ever get better, this story is for you. Now let me take you back to Montana Territory, 1873, to a dusty little town called Red Creek, where a tired waitress was about to meet the man who would change her life forever. The Golden Spur Saloon sat on the corner of Main Street and Cattle Drive Road, and it never truly slept. Dust clung to the windows like it had given up trying to leave. Lantern light flickered against rough timber walls, and the air stayed thick with smoke, cheap whiskey, and loud men who thought the whole world belonged to them. Serena Hull moved through that noise like she had done 1,000 nights before. She carried plates and mugs with steady hands even when her legs felt like they might give out underneath her. She was 24 years old, but exhaustion sat on her face like it had been carved there with a knife. Her navy dress was patched in 3 places. Her apron had stains that would never wash out no matter how hard she scrubbed. The soles of her boots were worn so thin she could feel every splinter in the wooden floor. But she kept her shoulders straight and her chin up. A waitress in a saloon learned fast that if she looked weak, someone would try to prove it. At a corner table near the piano, a group of cattlemen laughed too loud and leaned too close whenever she passed. One of them was a grizzled ranch hand everyone called Cotton. He had tobacco-stained teeth and eyes that followed women like they were property waiting to be claimed. Serena set down bowls of stew and plates of cornbread. Cotton grabbed her wrist before she could pull away. "Why is a pretty thing like you working yourself to the bone in a dump like this?" he asked. His breath smelled like whiskey and chewing tobacco. Serena gave him the same calm smile she gave everyone. She had practiced it so many times it felt painted on. "Making an honest living, Cotton. Same as you." A younger man at the table snorted and looked her up and down like she was livestock at auction. "Honest living does not look like it is treating you too kind. You got shadows under your eyes deep enough to plant corn in." The men roared with laughter. They slapped the table and repeated his words like it was the funniest joke they had ever heard. Serena felt heat rise in her cheeks, but she did not show it. She thought about the brown medicine bottle she needed to buy at the general store. She thought about her little sister Opal, coughing so hard at night it sounded like her lungs were tearing apart. She thought about the $3.40 she had hidden under a loose floorboard at home. She tightened her grip on the serving tray and kept her voice even. "I reckon I'm doing just fine. Anything else you boys need tonight?" Cotton waved her away like she was nothing more than a fly buzzing around his head. "You might want to ask your boss for a day off before you collapse right here on the floor and scare away paying customers." More laughter followed her as she walked back to the bar. Garrett stood behind the counter wiping glasses with a dirty cloth. He was the owner of the Golden Spur, a thin man with sharp eyes and a sharper temper. He watched the room like a hawk guarding its territory. "Keep them happy," he told Serena without looking at her. "They spend good money in here." "Yes, sir," Serena answered. She said yes, sir, because she needed the $4 a week. She needed the tips when they came. She needed the leftover food she could carry home in her apron pockets when no one was watching. She needed to survive. Later that night, a group of young ranch hands called her over to their table. They were already drunk and bold with it. One boy, who looked barely old enough to shave, leaned forward with glassy eyes. "What does a lady like you really want out of this life?" he asked. "What do you dream about at night when you finally close those pretty eyes?" The whole table leaned in, hungry for entertainment. They wanted her to blush. They wanted her to stammer. They wanted something to tease her about for the rest of the evening. Serena knew this game. She had played it 100 times before. So, she gave them exactly what they expected, because it was easier than fighting. A day off, she said with a light laugh. Maybe two if the heavens feel generous. The men howled. They slapped their knees and repeated her words back and forth like it was the best joke they had heard all year. A day off. She wants a day off. That is rich. Serena smiled and walked away while they were still laughing. But the truth sat heavy in her chest like a stone. It had not been a joke. Not really. Then the saloon doors swung open and the whole room shifted. Voices went quiet. Cards stopped shuffling. Even the piano player missed a note and had to find his place again. A tall man stepped inside wearing a dark duster coat that looked expensive but lived in. His boots were the kind that cost more than Serena made in a month, but they had real dust on them, real scuff marks from real work. He did not swagger like the cowboys did. He did not smile like he wanted something. He simply stood there for a moment in the doorway, scanning the room with calm green eyes like he was looking for something specific. Garrett straightened up so fast he nearly dropped the glass he was holding. "Good evening, Mr. Montclair. Welcome back to Red Creek." The name rippled through the saloon like wind through a wheat field. Montclair, Nash Montclair. Serena had heard stories about the Montclair family. Everyone had. They owned cattle ranches that stretched for miles. They owned silver mines in Colorado. They owned freight lines that moved goods across 3 territories. People said Nash Montclair was worth more money than Red Creek would earn in 10 lifetimes. Serena's hand froze on the water pitcher she was holding. Nash walked to the private corner table in the back, the one with the best view of both doors. He sat with his back to the wall like a man who had learned to be careful. Then he lifted his eyes, and they found her. His gaze held hers across the crowded room. Steady, quiet, not like the drunk stares she was used to deflecting. This felt different. It felt like being truly seen for the first time in years. Serena's breath caught in her throat. She forced her eyes away and picked up a serving tray with hands that suddenly did not feel steady at all. She walked to his table and stopped a proper distance away. "Good evening, sir. Can I bring you something to drink?" "Coffee," Nash said. His voice was low and calm. "Black." Serena nodded. "And for supper we have beef stew, fried chicken, or pork chops with potatoes. The stew will do fine." "Thank you." Serena turned to leave, but his voice stopped her. "Miss." She looked back over her shoulder. "What is your name?" he asked. The question hit her like cold water. Wealthy men did not ask waitresses their names. They called her girl or miss or nothing at all. They talked past her, like she was part of the furniture. Serena hesitated. Then she answered anyway. "Serena Hull, sir." Nash nodded once like he was saving the information somewhere important. "Serena, that is a good name. Strong." She did not know what to say to that, so she went to get his coffee. But she could feel his eyes on her the whole way across the room. And something in her chest that had been cold for a very long time started to feel warm again. Serena poured Nash Montclair's coffee with careful hands. Her fingers were shaking just a little, and she prayed he would not notice. She set the cup down in front of him, along with a bowl of stew and a thick slice of bread still warm from the oven. "That will be 75 cents, she said. "Or you can run a tab if you prefer." Nash pulled a leather wallet from his coat pocket. He did not count the money. He simply placed a silver dollar on the table. "Keep the change," he said. Serena blinked. A 25-cent tip was more than most customers left her in a week. "Thank you, sir. That is very generous." Nash picked up his coffee and took a slow sip. His eyes never left her face. "You look tired, Miss Hull." The words hit harder than they should have. Nobody said that out loud. Nobody acknowledged what they could plainly see. Customers looked through her. Garrett treated her like a machine that should keep working until it broke down. Even Opal tried to pretend everything was fine. But this stranger had said it plain as day. "You look tired." Serena kept her voice steady. "Every shift is long, sir. I am sure it is." Nash set down his cup. "How long have you worked here? Almost 3 years now. 3 years. Nash nodded slowly. That is a long time to spend in a place like this. Serena felt her defenses rise. It is honest work. I am not ashamed of it. I did not say you should be. Nash's voice stayed calm. I meant no offense. I was just making an observation. Serena did not know how to respond to that, so she fell back on the script she knew. Can I get you anything else, sir? Nash studied her face for a long moment. Then he asked a question that stopped her cold. What do you want most in this world, Miss Hull? Serena stared at him. What? It is a simple question. If you could have anything at all, what would it be? She thought about the earlier joke with the ranch hands. She thought about all the times she had deflected questions with laughter, because laughter was safer than truth. But something about the way Nash looked at her made lying feel impossible. A day off, she whispered. The words came out before she could stop them. One day where I do not have to pretend everything is fine. One day where I can just breathe. Nash did not laugh. He did not smirk. He did not look at her like she was a charity case to be pitied. He simply nodded like he understood exactly what she meant. Thank you for being honest with me, he said. Then he reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a gold coin, and set it on the table beside his empty coffee cup. Serena's eyes went wide. $20, a double eagle gold piece. That was 5 weeks of wages sitting right there on the scarred wooden table. That was medicine for Opal. That was rent paid on time. That was food in the cupboard and maybe even a new pair of boots. Sir, I cannot accept this. You earned it, Nash said. Like it was simple. Like it was obvious. I served you coffee and stew. That does not earn $20. Nash stood up and placed his hat on his head. It does tonight. Before Serena could argue further, he walked out of the saloon. The doors swung shut behind him and the room erupted in noise again. Loud voices and louder laughter, and 100 pairs of eyes suddenly fixed on Serena like she had done something scandalous just by being noticed. Well, well, well. Cotton's voice cut through the chatter. Looks like someone made a very special friend tonight. Serena grabbed the gold coin and shoved it deep into her apron pocket. Her face burned hot. He was just being generous. Sure he was. Cotton grinned his tobacco-stained grin. Rich men are always generous with pretty waitresses. No strings attached. That is definitely how the world works. The other men laughed. Serena turned and walked to the back room where she could be alone for a minute. Her heart pounded against her ribs. Her hands would not stop shaking. She pulled out the gold coin and stared at it in the dim light. $20. Why would a man like Nash Montlaire give $20 to a woman he had just met? What did he want from her? What game was he playing? But underneath the suspicion, something else stirred. Something that felt dangerously like hope. That night, Serena walked home through dark streets with the coin heavy in her pocket and heavier in her mind. She lived in a small cabin on the edge of town. 2 rooms with a leaky roof and a fireplace that smoked. It was not much, but it was hers and Opal's. It was home. Opal was asleep when Serena came in. Or at least she was pretending to be asleep. Serena could hear her sister's labored breathing from across the room. The wheeze and rattle that meant her lungs were getting worse. Serena sat down on the edge of Opal's bed and brushed the hair back from her sister's forehead. Opal was only 18 years old, but sickness had made her look older, thinner, more fragile. How are you feeling? Serena asked softly. Opal opened her eyes. I am fine, just tired. You need more medicine. We cannot afford more medicine. Opal tried to smile. I will be all right. I just need rest. Serena pulled the gold coin from her pocket and held it up where her sister could see it. Opal's eyes went wide. Where did you get that? A customer at the saloon. A customer gave you $20? Opal pushed herself up on her elbows. Serena, what did you do? Nothing. I served him dinner. He asked me a question and I answered honestly. Then he gave me this and walked out. Opal stared at her sister with something between disbelief and fear. People do not just give away money like that. What did he want? I do not know. Serena looked at the coin in her hand. But I am going to find out. The next morning, Serena went to Porter's general store before sunrise. She bought the lung tonic she had been praying for. The bottle was wrapped in brown paper and tied with string. The relief that flooded through her was so strong it almost brought tears to her eyes. Then the bell over the shop door chimed. Serena turned around. Nash Montlaire stood in the doorway. He filled the frame with his height and his presence. His green eyes found her immediately, like he had come looking for exactly this. "Good morning, Miss Hull," he said. He removed his hat. Mr. Porter stood behind the counter looking like he might faint. "Mr. Montlaire, sir. What can I get for you today?" Nash did not answer him. He walked toward Serena with slow, deliberate steps. "Is your sister still unwell?" he asked. Serena felt a chill run down her spine. "How do you know I have a sister?" "Small town. People talk." "People talk too much," Serena said. She did not hide the edge in her voice. "I apologize if I overstepped." Nash's expression stayed open and calm. "I only meant to express concern." Concern. Serena turned the word over in her mind. Why would a wealthy stranger be concerned about her sister? "She has lung trouble," Serena said finally. "This tonic helps with the coughing." Nash nodded. Then he turned to Mr. Porter and said something that made Serena's stomach drop straight through the floor. "I want to set up a standing account. Whatever Miss Hull needs, medicine, food, supplies, put it all on my tab." The words hung in the air like smoke. Mr. Porter's mouth fell open. Serena stepped forward before he could respond. "Absolutely not." Nash looked at her with those calm green eyes. "Your sister needs care." "I am not a charity case," Serena said. The words came out sharp, almost angry. "You do not get to make decisions about my life just because you have money." For a moment, something hard flashed across Nash's face. Then it softened again. "You are right," he said. "That was presumptuous of me." He looked at Mr. Porter. "Cancel the account." Mr. Porter nodded quickly, obviously relieved to be out of the middle of whatever was happening. Nash turned back to Serena. "May I offer a compromise instead?" Serena stared at him. Her heart beat hard against her ribs. "What kind of compromise?" "Keep what I gave you last night. Use it however you choose. But if you ever need anything beyond your means, come to me. Ask for help. The choice will always be yours." Serena searched his face for the trap. Men did not give without taking. That was just how the world worked. But Nash stood there with his hat in his hands, waiting patiently like he actually meant what he said. "Why?" she asked. "Why do you care what happens to me?" Nash's eyes held hers. "Because I asked you what you wanted most. And you asked for one day to rest. Not money. Not jewels. Not a husband to take care of you. Just one day to breathe." He paused. "That struck me, Miss Hull. It struck me hard." Serena swallowed against the tightness in her throat. She did not know what to say. She did not know what to feel. So she turned and walked out of the store with the medicine clutched tight against her chest. But Nash's words followed her all the way home. One day to breathe. Maybe that was not too much to ask for after all. Nash Montlaire became a fixture at the Golden Spur Saloon. He came every night around 8 o'clock when the supper crowd was thick and the piano player was warming up. He sat at the same corner table with his back to the wall. He ordered coffee and food. He never touched whiskey. And he watched Serena. Not in the hungry way that other men watched her. Not like she was prey to be cornered. He watched her like she was something worth understanding. Like she was a book written in a language he was trying to learn. It made Serena nervous in a way she could not explain. By the third night, the other saloon girls had noticed. They whispered behind their hands and shot Serena looks that fell somewhere between jealousy and warning. "That Montlaire fellow has taken quite a shine to you," said Abigail. She was a pretty redhead who had worked at the Golden Spur longer than anyone. Watch yourself with men like that. They think they can buy whatever they want. He is just a customer, Serena said. Customers do not tip gold coins. Abigail raised an eyebrow. What did you do to earn that kind of money? Nothing. I served him dinner. Abigail laughed. Sure you did, honey. And I am the Queen of England. Serena ignored her and went back to work. But the whispers followed her everywhere now. She could hear them rising and falling like waves whenever she passed. The waitress and the millionaire. What could he possibly want with her? Does she know what she is getting into? Garrett pulled her aside after closing one night. His thin face was twisted with suspicion. Nash Montlair has been asking questions about you, he said. How long you have worked here, whether you have family, whether you are spoken for. Serena felt her chest tighten. What did you tell him? The truth, that you are a hard worker who keeps to herself, that you have a sister with lung trouble who you take care of alone. You should not be sharing my business with strangers. Garrett leaned closer. His breath smelled like the cheap cigars he smoked in the back room. Men like Nash Montlair do not take interest in women like you for wholesome reasons, he said. Do not get caught up in his games. You are worth more to me behind that bar than warming some rich man's bed. Serena forced her face to stay calm, even though anger burned hot in her stomach. I am not warming anyone's bed, she said. I am doing my job. Same as always. See that you keep it that way. But when the saloon doors opened the next evening and Nash walked in calm and quiet, Serena's heart beat faster whether she wanted it to or not. He took his usual table. He ordered his usual coffee. And when she brought it to him, he looked up at her with those steady green eyes. How is your sister? He asked. Better. The tonic is helping. Good. Nash nodded. That is good to hear. Serena hesitated. Then she asked the question that had been burning in her mind for days. Why do you keep coming back here? Nash considered the question like it deserved real thought. The coffee is decent, he said, and the company is better. A smile tugged at Serena's lips before she could stop it. The company meaning me? Meaning you. She should have walked away. She should have kept things professional. But instead she found herself sliding into the chair across from him. You could have better company anywhere, she said. You could eat at fancy restaurants. You could court debutantes in Denver or San Francisco. Why spend your evenings in a dusty saloon watching a tired waitress carry plates? Nash was quiet for a moment. Then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small leather-bound book. Do you read, Miss Hull? Serena blinked at the change of subject. When I can. There is not much time for it. Nash held out the book. Poetry. Take it. Bring it back when you have finished. Serena stared at the book like it might bite her. You want to loan me a poetry book? Even rough men need beauty sometimes, Nash said. And I suspect you do too. Serena took the book carefully. The leather was soft and worn from handling. The pages were thin as tissue paper. Thank you, she said. You are welcome. That night, after Opal fell asleep, Serena lit a candle and read by its flickering light until her eyes burned. The words on those pages felt like water in a desert. They felt like someone had opened a window in a room she'd been trapped inside for years. She understood then why Nash kept coming back. He was lonely too. Over the next few weeks, something shifted between them. Their conversations grew longer, more personal. Nash told her about his childhood on the family ranch, about his mother who died when he was 12, about his father who had been hard and demanding and impossible to please. Serena told him about growing up poor but happy, about her father who had worked in the mines and come home every night with coal dust in his hair and songs on his lips. About the day she learned he was dead and how everything fell apart after that. Nash listened without judgment. He asked questions that showed he was paying attention. He remembered details she mentioned once and brought them up later like they mattered. Nobody had ever listened to her like that before. One evening, Nash noticed Serena rubbing her shoulder where a drunk customer had grabbed her too hard. Did someone hurt you? He asked. His voice was calm, but something dangerous flickered in his eyes. Just an occupational hazard, Serena said. It comes with the job. It should not. Well, it does. Nash was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that surprised her. If anyone ever hurts you in this place, tell me. I will handle it. Serena shook her head. I can take care of myself. I know you can, but that does not mean you have to do it alone. The words settled into her chest like warmth from a fire. She did not know what to say, so she just nodded and went back to work. But she thought about those words for the rest of the night. You do not have to do it alone. When was the last time anyone had said that to her? The trouble came on a Saturday night when the saloon was packed wall to wall with cowboys and miners and railroad men passing through. The air was thick with smoke and sweat and the sharp smell of whiskey. Serena carried a tray of drinks through the crowd when a hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. Clayton Redmond. He was a freight hauler with a big body and a bigger sense of entitlement. He had been drinking since noon, and it showed in his bloodshot eyes and sloppy grin. "Have a drink with us," he slurred. His fingers dug into her skin hard enough to bruise. "Stay a while, sweetheart." "I am working," Serena said. She tried to pull her arm free, but his grip only tightened. "Come on now, do not be like that." "I am just being friendly. You could stand to be a little friendlier yourself." Fear crawled up Serena's spine. She had dealt with handsy customers before, but something about Clayton felt different, more dangerous. "Let go of my arm," she said. Her voice stayed steady, even though her heart was racing. The room went quiet the way it always did before something ugly happened. People turned to watch. Nobody moved to help. Then a calm voice cut through the tension like a knife. "The lady asked you to let go." Nash stood beside the table. One hand rested on Clayton's shoulder. The touch looked casual, but there was nothing casual about the look in Nash's eyes. Clayton turned his head and squinted up at him. Recognition dawned slowly through the whiskey fog. "This ain't your business, Montclair. It is when you touch someone who told you no," Nash replied. His voice never rose above a conversational tone. "Let her go, now." Clayton's fingers loosened. Serena yanked her arm back and rubbed the red marks his grip had left behind. Nash's voice stayed low, but it carried to every corner of the room. "If you ever put your hands on her again, I will make sure every freight contract you have disappears by sunrise. Do you understand me?" Clayton nodded. Angry and humiliated, but smart enough to know when he was outmatched. Nash turned to Serena. "Are you all right?" "I am fine," she lied. But she was shaking, and they both knew it. After closing that night, Serena stepped out into the cool, dark air and found Nash waiting on the wooden sidewalk. His coat collar was turned up against the chill. "I will walk you home," he said. It was not a question. "You do not have to do that." "I know." "But tonight you are not walking alone." Serena wanted to argue. Pride demanded it. But the memory of Clayton's fingers digging into her skin was still too fresh. "All right," she said quietly. They walked in silence through the empty streets. Their boots crunched on dirt and gravel. The stars overhead were bright as scattered diamonds. When they reached Serena's cabin, Nash stopped at the bottom of the porch steps. "Good night, Miss Hull," he said. Serena looked at him for a long moment. This man who tipped gold and read poetry and stood up for her when no one else would. "Good night, Nash," she said. His smile was small but real. He waited on the street until she went inside and closed the door behind her. Serena stood in the dark cabin with her back against the door and her heart pounding. She was falling for him. God help her. But she was falling for him hard. 3 days later, a storm rolled down from the mountains and slammed into Red Creek like a fist. Thunder shook the windows of the Golden Spur. Lightning cracked across the sky so bright it turned night into day for split seconds at a time. Rain came down in sheets so thick you could not see across the street. Garrett closed the saloon early for the first time Serena could remember. "Everybody out," he shouted over the roar of the storm. "I'm not risking my building for a few more drinks." Customers grumbled, but they grabbed their hats and headed for the door. Within minutes, the saloon was empty except for Garrett counting money in the back room. Serena wiping down tables, and Nash sitting alone at his corner table. He had not left with the others. Serena finished cleaning and walked over to him with a pot of coffee in her hand. "Storm's getting worse," she said. "You should probably head home before the roads flood." Nash looked up at her. The lamplight caught his eyes and made them seem darker than usual. "Can I ask you something personal?" he said. Serena set down the coffee pot. "You can ask. I might not answer." "Fair enough." Nash leaned back in his chair. "Why did you come to Red Creek?" The question opened old wounds. Serena felt them sting like salt in fresh cuts. "My father died when I was 19, she said slowly. "Mining accident in Colorado. After that, my mother remarried fast. Too fast. Her new husband did not want two stepdaughters taking up space and eating his food. He made that real clear." "What did you do?" "We left. Opal and I came here because we had an aunt who was supposed to take us in." She leaned against the table edge. "But Aunt Martha was already dead when we arrived. Fever took her 2 weeks before we got here. So we had no family, no money, no place to go." Nash was quiet, listening. "I have been surviving for 3 years," Serena continued. "Working here, taking care of Opal, trying to keep us fed and housed and alive." The words came out sharper than she meant them to. "That is all I do. I survive, day after day after day." Lightning flashed. Thunder cracked so close the whole building trembled. Serena flinched without meaning to. Nash's hand came up to steady her. His fingers wrapped around her arm, gentle but firm. The touch burned through the fabric of her sleeve like a brand. "You deserve more than survival," he said quietly. "You do not know what I deserve." "Maybe not, but I know what I see." Nash's thumb traced a small circle on her arm. "I see a woman who has been strong for so long she has forgotten what it feels like to lean on someone. I see someone who takes care of everyone else and never asks for help. I see someone who asked for 1 day to rest because she could not even imagine asking for more." Serena's eyes stung. "Stop. Stop what?" "Stop making me feel things," her voice cracked. "I cannot afford to feel things. Feelings are a luxury I do not have." Nash stood up slowly. He was so close now she could smell the rain on his coat and the coffee on his breath. "What if they were not a luxury?" he asked. "What if you could have them?" Serena shook her head. "Men like you do not end up with women like me. That is not how the world works. Maybe I am not like other men." "Everyone is like other men." Nash's hand lifted to her face. His fingers brushed her cheek so gently it made her heart ache. "Tell me to stop," he said, "and I will." Serena should have told him to stop. Every sensible bone in her body screamed at her to step back and walk away and protect herself from whatever pain was coming. But she did not. "I am afraid," she whispered instead. "I am afraid of what I am starting to feel." Nash's expression changed. The careful control he always wore cracked open, and she saw something raw underneath. Something hungry and hopeful and afraid all at the same time. "So am I," he said. Then he leaned in. And Serena met him halfway. The first kiss was soft, testing, like they were both asking permission. But then something broke loose, and the second kiss was desperate, starving, like they had both been thirsty for years and finally found water. Nash's arms wrapped around her waist and pulled her close. Serena's hands fisted in the front of his shirt. The storm raged outside, but she could not hear it anymore. All she could hear was her own heartbeat and his breathing, and the small sound she made when his lips moved to her jaw. The back door slammed. "Serena," Garrett's voice called from the storeroom. "You still out there?" They broke apart so fast, Serena nearly fell over. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Her lips were swollen. Her whole body felt like it was on fire. Nash stepped back and straightened his coat. His eyes never left her face. "I should go," he said. His voice was rough. "Yes." Serena nodded quickly. "Yes, you should go." But he did not move, not right away. He reached out and touched her hand. Just the fingertips. Just for a second. "I am not playing games with you," he said quietly. "Whatever this is, it is real for me. I need you to know that." Then he turned and walked out into the storm. Garrett appeared in the doorway a moment later. His eyes moved over her disheveled hair and flushed cheeks. "Montclair leave?" he asked. "Yes. Good. Lock up before you go." Serena locked up the saloon with shaking hands. Then she ran home through rain that soaked her to the skin. She did not feel the cold. All she could feel was Nash's kiss burning on her lips. For 3 days she did not see him. She went to work and served drinks and smiled at customers and pretended everything was normal. But every time the saloon doors opened, her heart jumped into her throat. It was never him. On the 4th day, a young boy came to her cabin with a note. He handed it to her and ran off before she could give him a coin for his trouble. Serena unfolded the paper with trembling fingers. The handwriting was neat and clear. "Meet me at the old homestead north of town. Sunset. There is something I need to tell you before you decide anything about me." It was signed with a single letter. Serena read the note 3 times. Her stomach twisted with equal parts hope and dread. "Something I need to tell you." What could Nash Montclair possibly need to tell her that could not be said in public? She borrowed a horse from the livery stable and rode out as the sky turned gold and pink with approaching sunset. The old homestead sat on a hill about 2 miles outside of town. It had been abandoned for years. The roof sagged and the windows were broken and weeds had grown up through the porch boards. Nash was waiting for her. He stood on the broken porch with his hat in his hands. His face was serious in a way she had never seen before. He looked like a man about to confess a sin. Serena dismounted and tied her horse to the rotting fence post. Her legs felt unsteady as she walked toward him. "What is this about?" she asked. Nash looked out at the prairie stretching golden in the dying light. Then he looked back at her. "I need to tell you something," he said. "And you need to hear it before you decide anything about me. About us." Serena's heart pounded. "All right. Tell me." Nash drew a deep breath. 5 years ago, there was a mining accident near Denver, he said. A collapse. 7 men died. Serena felt the blood drain from her face. Her father had died in a mining accident near Denver. 5 years ago, 7 men killed. One of them was named James Hull, Nash continued. His voice was heavy with something that sounded like grief. "Your father? James Hull was your father." Serena could not speak, could not breathe. The world tilted sideways and she grabbed the porch railing to keep from falling. Nash kept talking. Each word drove deeper like a nail. "My family owned that mine," he said. "Not in our name directly, through companies and paperwork designed to hide the connection. But it was ours. We owned it, and we got warnings. Engineers told us the support beams were failing. They said men could die if we did not make repairs." Serena found her voice. It came out thin and broken. "What did you do?" Nash's jaw tightened. His eyes shone with pain. "My father ignored the warnings," he said. "Repairs would have cost money, cut into profits, so he decided the risk was worth it. And I knew. I was young and I was a coward. And I told myself it was not my place to interfere. I told myself my father would do the right thing eventually." Nash's hands clenched at his sides. 3 weeks later, the mine collapsed. 7 men died. Your father died, and I did nothing to stop it. The truth hit Serena like a physical blow. For years, she had carried grief like a stone in her chest. She had blamed bad luck, careless mine owners, a cruel and unfair world. Now the cruel world had a face, and it was the face of the man she was falling in love with. Serena stood on the broken porch of the old homestead and felt her whole world crack apart. 5 years of grief. 5 years of struggling and starving and watching her sister cough blood into handkerchiefs. 5 years of wondering why her father had to die while rich men got richer off the work of men like him. And the answer had been sitting across from her in a saloon, tipping gold, reading poetry, kissing her in a thunderstorm. You, she said. The word came out like poison. Your family killed my father. Nash did not flinch. He did not make excuses. Yes, he said. We did. Serena's hands shook. Her whole body shook. Is that why you came to the Golden Spur? Is that why you gave me money and read me poetry and made me think you cared? Nash stepped toward her. Serena stepped back. At first, yes, he said. I heard the name Hull in town. It stayed in my mind like a splinter I could not pull out. I asked questions. I learned who you were. I learned what you and Opal had been through since your father died. His voice cracked. I came to Red Creek because I could not live with the guilt anymore. I told myself I was coming to make amends, to help you and your sister, to do something good to balance out the evil my family had done. Serena laughed. It was an ugly sound. So I was your charity project, your way to feel better about yourself. No! Nash shook his head hard. That is how it started. But that is not why I stayed. Serena's eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. Do not do that. Do not pretend this is something it is not. I am not pretending. Nash's voice rose for the first time. I fell in love with you, Serena. That is the truth. That is the part that makes this whole thing so impossible. Serena stared at him. You do not get to say that. You do not get to stand there and tell me you love me after what you just confessed. I know. Nash's voice broke. I know I do not have the right. But it is true anyway. The wind picked up and blew Serena's hair across her face. She could see the sun setting behind Nash, painting the sky in colors that looked like fire. Why, she asked. Her voice was quiet now, tired. Why are you telling me this now? You could have kept it secret forever. I never would have known. Nash met her eyes. Because I could not build something real with you on top of a lie, he said. You asked me in that store why I cared about you. You deserve the real answer, even if it destroys any chance I had. Serena wiped her cheeks and was surprised to find them wet. My father was a good man, she said. He worked hard. He came home every night covered in coal dust. And he would pick me up and spin me around and call me his little star. He sang songs. He made us laugh. And he died in the dark in a hole in the ground, because your family was too greedy to spend money on safety. Nash nodded. His own eyes were bright with tears he did not try to hide. I know, he said. I know what he was. I know what we took from you. You should have told me the first night. I was a coward. I kept waiting for the right time, and the truth is, there is no right time. I was afraid you would look at me and see only the mine, only your father dying, only another rich man who took and took and took. Serena turned away from him. She looked out at the empty prairie. The tall grass was moving in waves like an ocean made of gold. I do not know what to do with this, she said. Then do not decide tonight. Nash's voice was raw. Take time. Take as much time as you need. If you cannot forgive me, I will accept it. I will not chase you. I will not punish you for it. I will just go away and leave you in peace. Serena closed her eyes. She pictured her father's face, the laugh lines around his eyes, the way he smelled like earth and sweat and tobacco. The last time she hugged him before he left for work and never came home. She pictured Nash reading poetry in the lamplight, Nash standing up to Clayton Redmond, Nash walking her home in the dark because he did not want her to be alone. Two men, one dead because of the other's family. And somehow, against all sense, she had started to love them both. What did you think would happen? She asked finally. She did not turn around. Did you think you would tell me the truth and I would fall into your arms and forgive you? No. Nash's voice was quiet behind her. I thought you would hate me. I thought you would tell me to leave and never come back. And I thought that would be exactly what I deserved. Then why risk it? Because you deserved to know who you were kissing. Serena turned around slowly. Nash stood there with his hat in his hands. The fading sunlight made his face look older, more worn. She could see the weight he had been carrying for 5 years written in every line. "If I keep walking this road with you," she said, "things have to change." Nash lifted his head. Hope flickered in his eyes like a candle in wind. "Anything," he said. Serena took a step toward him. "I will not be your project. I will not be your way to fix your guilt. If we do this, we do it as equals, as partners." "Partners," Nash said immediately, "and Opal comes first. She is my family. She will always come first. She comes with you, always." Serena took another step. "And no more lies. Not ever. Not even small ones. Not even to protect me. No more lies," Nash said. "I swear it." They stood 3 feet apart. The last light of the sun faded behind the mountains. Stars were beginning to appear overhead. "One more thing," Serena said. "Name it." Serena's voice hardened. "You need to tell the truth publicly," she said. "Clear my father's name. Make people understand that he did not die because he was careless. He died because mine owners were greedy and you were silent. You do that first, before anything else happens between us. You do that, and maybe we can find a way forward." Nash nodded without hesitation. "Done," he said. "I will make a public statement. I will name the companies. I will admit everything." "Put my father's name on it," Serena said. "Not yours. Make it about him, about the men who died, not about you trying to feel better." "I will." Serena studied his face for a long moment, looking for the lie, looking for the trap. She did not find one. "I cannot promise I will forgive you," she said. "I cannot promise any of this will work. I know. I might wake up tomorrow and decide I cannot stand to look at you. I know that too." Serena let out a breath she felt like she had been holding for years. "But I am willing to try," she said. "That is all I can give you right now." Nash's whole body seemed to sag with relief. He reached for her slowly, carefully, giving her time to pull away. She did not pull away. His hand touched her cheek. His thumb traced the path of a tear. "I love you," he said. "I know I do not deserve to say it. I know I have no right, but it is true." Serena shook her head, half laughing, half crying. "You are an idiot," she said. Nash smiled, a real smile, sad and hopeful all at once. "I know," he said. Serena rose up on her toes and kissed him. It was not the desperate kiss from the thunderstorm. It was softer, more careful, a beginning instead of an ending. When they broke apart, Nash pulled her into his arms and held her tight. Serena pressed her face against his chest and let herself be held. Tomorrow would be hard, the days after would be harder. But tonight, in the dark with the stars coming out one by one, she let herself believe that maybe something good could grow from something terrible. Nash Montlaire kept his promise. 2 weeks after that night at the old homestead, he stood in the town hall of Red Creek and told the truth to everyone who would listen. The room was packed. Ranchers and miners and shopkeepers filled every seat. People stood along the walls and crowded in the doorway. Word had spread that the richest man in the territory was about to confess something, and nobody wanted to miss it. Serena stood in the back corner with her heart in her throat. Nash walked to the front of the room. He did not carry notes. He did not hide behind lawyers or careful legal language. 5 years ago, he began, 7 men died in the Blackwell mine outside of Denver. The official report called it an accident, equipment failure, bad luck. He paused. That was a lie. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "My family owned that mine," Nash continued. "Not in our name directly. We hid behind shell companies and false documents. But the profits came to us. The decisions came from us. And the warnings came to us too." His voice grew stronger. "Engineers told my father the support beams were failing. They said men would die if we did not make repairs. My father decided the repairs were too expensive. He decided to take the risk with other men's lives. Someone in the crowd cursed. Someone else shushed them. I knew about the warnings, Nash said. I was young and I told myself it was not my place to interfere. I told myself my father knew best. I stayed silent. He looked out at the crowd, finding Serena's eyes for just a moment before looking away. 3 weeks later, the mine collapsed. 7 men died. 7 families lost husbands and fathers and brothers. And I did nothing to prevent it. The room was completely silent now. Nash pulled a piece of paper from his coat pocket. I want to read the names of the men who died, he said, because they deserve to be remembered as more than numbers on a report. He read slowly, clearly, each name falling into the silence like a stone into water. Thomas McKenna, age 42, father of 4. Robert Clement, age 35, newly married. Walter Price, age 51, grandfather. Henry Yang, age 28, immigrant from China. Samuel Frost, age 39, church deacon. Michael O'Brien, age 44, volunteer firefighter. And James Hull, age 46, father of 2 daughters who loved him very much. Serena's eyes filled with tears. She did not try to stop them. Nash folded the paper and put it back in his pocket. I cannot bring these men back, he said. I cannot undo what was done. But I can tell the truth. I can make sure their names are not forgotten. And I can try to make sure this never happens again. He announced the creation of the James Hull Memorial Fund, a trust that would provide support to the families of injured or killed miners. Money for doctors, money for schooling, money to help people who had lost everything through no fault of their own. He announced new safety inspections at every mine his family owned, new standards that went beyond what the law required, new consequences for anyone who ignored warnings. He announced a scholarship in James Hull's name for young people who wanted to become engineers, so there would always be someone willing to speak up when lives were at stake. Then he was done. He did not ask for applause. He did not ask for forgiveness. He simply nodded once and walked away from the podium. The room exploded into noise. Some people were angry. They shouted that it was not enough, that words could not bring back the dead, that Nash Montlaire should be in prison, not making speeches. Some people were impressed. They said it took courage to stand up and confess like that. They said most rich men would have buried the truth forever. Some people did not know what to think at all. Serena pushed through the crowd until she reached Nash. He was standing near the side door. His face was pale. His hands were shaking slightly. "You did it," she said. Nash looked at her. "I did not do it for praise. I did it because it was right, and because you asked me to." Serena reached out and took his hand, squeezed it once. "I know," she said. They walked out of the town hall together. Over the next few weeks, the ripples spread outward. Newspapers from Denver and San Francisco picked up the story. Some painted Nash as a villain. Some painted him as a reformed man, trying to make amends. Most did not know what to make of him at all. Business partners abandoned the Montlaire name. Contracts were canceled. Old friends stopped returning calls. Nash did not flinch. He accepted every consequence like a man who knew he deserved it. "You are losing money," Serena said one evening. They were sitting on the porch of Nash's ranch house, watching the sun set. "A lot of money." "I know," Nash said. "Does it bother you?" "No." Nash looked at her. "For the first time in 5 years, I can sleep at night. That is worth more than money." Serena leaned against his shoulder. She did not say anything for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "My father would have liked you." Nash's voice was rough. "I would have liked to meet him." Serena closed her eyes. "You would have. He had a good heart. He saw the best in people. even people who did not deserve it. Nash kissed the top of her head. "I will spend the rest of my life trying to deserve it," he said. Serena believed him. 6 months later, they got married. It was a small ceremony in the little church in Red Creek. The pews were not full. Some townspeople stayed away, still suspicious or bitter. But Opal stood beside Serena in a new dress with color in her cheeks and tears on her face. The medicine had worked. Her lungs were healing. She could laugh now without coughing. She could walk across a room without losing her breath. That was worth more than any fancy wedding. Nash's voice was steady when he said his vows. He promised to love and cherish, to honor and protect, to be honest even when honesty was hard. Serena believed every word. When the preacher pronounced them husband and wife, Nash kissed her softly. The handful of people who had come to witness cheered. Afterward, they walked out into the sunshine. Serena looked up at the blue Montana sky and thought about everything that had led her here. A dusty saloon, a gold coin, a thunderstorm kiss, a terrible secret, a public confession. 1 year ago, she had asked for a day off. Just one day where she did not have to pretend everything was fine. Now she had so much more than that. She had a partner, a future, a chance to build something real. It would not be easy. Nothing worth having ever was. But for the first time in 5 years, Serena believed that good things could grow from broken ground. The Montclair Ranch stretched wider than anything Serena had ever imagined. Rolling hills covered in grass so green it looked painted. Cattle grazing in herds so large they seemed to go on forever. Mountains rising in the distance with snow still on their peaks even in summer. The house itself was built of timber and stone. 2 stories tall with a porch that wrapped around like arms waiting to embrace. Windows that caught the morning light. A kitchen that smelled like bread and coffee. Serena stood in the entryway on her first day as a married woman and felt panic climb her throat. "It is too much," she whispered. Nash came up behind her and rested his hands on her shoulders. "We will figure it out together," he said. Serena turned to look at him. "I do not know how to live in a house like this. I do not know how to talk to servants. I do not know how to be a rancher's wife." "Then we will learn," Nash said. "And you will not have servants. You will have people who work with you, not for you. There is a difference." Serena took a deep breath. Let it out slowly. "All right," she said, "show me everything." Nash showed her the house room by room. The library with its shelves of books. The parlor with its fireplace big enough to stand in. The bedroom with its windows facing east so they could watch the sun rise. Then he showed her the ranch. They rode out together on horseback. Nash introduced her to the foreman, a weathered man named Tom who had worked the land for 20 years. He introduced her to the ranch hands, young men and old men who tipped their hats and called her Mrs. Serena watched how they interacted with Nash. Respectful but not afraid. Honest with their opinions. Quick to laugh at his jokes. "These men like you," she said afterward. Nash shrugged. "I try to treat them fair. Most bosses do not try." "Most bosses are idiots," Nash said. "Happy workers do better work. It is not complicated." Serena smiled. She was starting to understand why Nash was different from other rich men. He remembered what it felt like to be human. Opal came to live with them a month later. Nash gave her a room with big windows that caught the afternoon light. He hired a doctor to visit every week and check her lungs. Within 6 months, Opal was transformed. The color came back to her cheeks. The cough faded to almost nothing. She gained weight and strength. She started to smile again. One day, Serena found her sister in the garden with a sketchbook and a set of charcoal pencils. "What are you drawing?" Serena asked. Opal held up the paper. It was a picture of the mountains. Rough but beautiful. "I used to draw when I was young," Opal said, "before everything fell apart. I forgot how much I loved it." Serena sat down beside her sister on the garden bench. "You should do more of it," she said. "You have time now." Opal looked at her with tears in her eyes. "I never thought I would live long enough to have time," she said. Serena took her hand. "Well, you did," she said, "so do not waste it." As the months passed, Serena found her place on the ranch. She was not a woman who could sit still. She worked in the kitchen with the cook, learning to make meals for a dozen hungry ranch hands. She studied the account books until she understood where every dollar came from and where it went. She rode out with Nash to check fences and count cattle. The ranch hands were surprised at first. They had never seen a rancher's wife get her hands dirty. But Serena worked alongside them without complaint. She treated them with respect. She remembered their names and asked about their families. By the end of the first year, they would have followed her anywhere. Serena also used her position to make changes. She insisted that the workers be paid fairly, not the bare minimum, actual fair wages that let them support their families. She set up a small fund to help any worker who got injured. Money for doctors, money to tide them over until they could work again. She established a rule that no man would be fired without good cause and fair warning. "You are going to bankrupt us," Nash said one evening. He was smiling when he said it. Serena looked up from the account books. "We are making more money now than when you ran things alone," she said. "Turns out people work harder when they are not afraid of losing everything." Nash laughed. "Marry a waitress," he said. "Best decision I ever made." Serena threw a pencil at him. He ducked. The James Hull Memorial Fund grew too. Every month, Serena reviewed the applications. Families who had lost minors to accidents, women raising children alone, young people trying to get educations. She approved as many as she could. One day, a letter came from a woman in Colorado. Her husband had died in a different mine accident 2 years ago. She had 3 children and no income. "Thank you," the letter said. "Because of your fund, my children will not starve this winter. I do not know who James Hull was, but I will pray for his soul every night." Serena read the letter 3 times. Then she cried. Not sad tears, grateful tears. Her father's name was helping people. His death was not meaningless. She put the letter in a box with all the others. By the end of the second year, the box was full. The school was her idea, too. Red Creek did not have a proper school. Children learned what they could from their parents or not at all. Serena used Montclair money to build a one-room schoolhouse on the edge of town. She hired a young teacher from back east, a woman named Sarah, who had progressive ideas about education and enough backbone to handle ranch children. The school opened in the fall of 1875. 23 children showed up on the first day. By the second year, there were 40. Some people grumbled that Serena was overstepping. A rancher's wife should not be building schools and running charity funds. She should be hosting tea parties and having babies. Serena ignored them. She had spent too many years with no power to waste the power she had now. The clinic came next. A traveling doctor agreed to visit Red Creek twice a month. He would treat anyone who needed care, whether they could pay or not. Serena paid his salary out of her own pocket. The first patient he saw was an old miner with a persistent cough. The second was a young mother whose baby had a fever. By the end of the first month, he had seen over 40 people. "You are changing this town," Nash said one night. They were lying in bed together with moonlight streaming through the window. "I am trying," Serena said. "It is not enough. It will never be enough. It is more than anyone else has done." Serena was quiet for a moment. "I keep thinking about my father," she said. "He worked so hard his whole life. He gave everything he had. And when he died, nobody even said his name. He was just a number, one of 7. I do not want anyone else to feel that invisible." Nash pulled her close. "He would be proud of you," he said. Serena closed her eyes. "I hope so," she whispered. "I really hope so." In the spring of 1876, Serena told Nash she was going to have a baby. They were sitting on the porch watching the sunset. It had become their nightly ritual. 2 cups of coffee, the sky turning colors, the sounds of the ranch settling into evening. Serena set down her cup and took Nash's hand. "I have something to tell you," she said. Nash looked at her. His eyes searched her face. "Are you all right?" he asked. "I am more than all right." Serena smiled. "I am pregnant." Nash went completely still, like a man who had been turned to stone. "Pregnant," he repeated. "Yes, the doctor confirmed it this morning." The baby should come in November. For a long moment, Nash did not move, did not speak, did not breathe. Then his face cracked open into the biggest smile Serena had ever seen. He pulled her into his arms so fast her coffee cup went flying. He held her tight and buried his face in her hair and made a sound that was half laugh and half sob. "A baby," he said. "We are having a baby. We are having a baby." Nash pulled back and looked at her with eyes that were suspiciously bright. "I love you," he said. "Have I told you that today?" "Only about 6 times." "Not nearly enough," Nash said, and he kissed her. The pregnancy was not easy. Serena was sick for the first 3 months. She could not keep food down. She lost weight instead of gaining it. But Opal was there to help. She made special teas that settled Serena's stomach. She sat with her sister through the worst of the nausea. "I used to be the sick one," Opal said. "Now I get to take care of you for a change." Serena smiled weakly. "I preferred it the other way around," she said. "Too bad." Opal grinned. "You are stuck with me now." By the 4th month, Serena started to feel better. Her appetite came back. Her energy returned. She could ride again, though Nash insisted she take a gentler horse. The baby kicked for the first time in August. Serena was sitting in the garden reading a book when she felt it. A flutter, like a butterfly trapped inside her. She gasped and dropped the book. Opal looked up from her sketching. "What is it?" "The baby." Serena pressed her hand to her stomach. "I felt it move." Opal abandoned her drawing and rushed over. She put her hand next to Serena's and they waited. Long seconds passed, then another flutter. Opal's face lit up. "I felt it too," she said. They sat there together in the garden, 2 sisters who had lost everything and found a way to rebuild, feeling a new life move beneath their hands. November came with snow on the mountains and ice in the streams. Serena went into labor on a Tuesday morning. It lasted 14 hours. Nash paced in the hallway like a caged animal. The doctor had banned him from the room after he nearly knocked over a table in his nervousness. Opal stayed by Serena's side through all of it, holding her hand, wiping her forehead, telling her she was strong enough to do this. And she was. At sunset on that cold November Tuesday, a baby's cry filled the house. The doctor emerged from the bedroom with a smile on his tired face. "Congratulations, Mr. Montclair. You have a healthy son." Nash was through the door before the doctor finished speaking. He found Serena propped up on pillows with a small bundle in her arms. Her hair was damp with sweat. Her face was exhausted. She had never looked more beautiful. "Come meet your son," she said. Nash crossed the room on shaky legs. He looked down at the tiny face peeking out from the blankets, red and wrinkled and perfect, his eyes filled with tears. "He is beautiful," Nash whispered. "He looks just like you." Serena laughed softly. "He looks like a potato. All babies look like potatoes." Nash reached out one finger and touched his son's tiny hand. The baby grabbed on and held tight. "What should we name him?" Nash asked. Serena had been thinking about this for months. She knew exactly what she wanted. "James," she said, "after my father." Nash looked at her. His face was full of emotion. "James Montclair," he said slowly. "That is a good, strong name." "James Montclair," Serena agreed. "So he never forgets where he came from." They brought baby James home the next morning. Opal had decorated the nursery with paintings she had done herself, mountains and flowers and horses running free. The first year of parenthood was chaos. Sleepless nights, endless crying, mountains of dirty diapers. Serena and Nash stumbled through it together, learning as they went. But there was so much joy, too. Baby James's first smile, his first laugh, the way his eyes lit up when he saw his parents' faces, the weight of him in Serena's arms, the warmth of him against Nash's chest. "This is what I wanted," Serena said one night. They were sitting in the nursery watching James sleep in his crib. This is what I was asking for when I said I wanted a day off. I just did not know how to say it. Nash took her hand. What do you mean? He asked. Serena thought about how to explain it. When I asked for a day off, I was not really asking for rest, she said. I was asking for a life where I did not have to be afraid all the time. A life where I could breathe, where I could love someone without worrying about losing them, where I could build something that would last. She looked at their sleeping son. This is that life, she said. I have it now. And sometimes I still cannot believe it is real. Nash lifted her hand to his lips and kissed it. It is real, he said. I promise you, it is real. More children came. A daughter they named Rose after Serena's grandmother. Another son they named William after Nash's grandfather. A third daughter they named Pearl because Opal chose it and Serena could not say no to her sister. The house filled with noise, laughter and crying and running feet. Arguments over toys and songs at bedtime and breakfast chaos every morning. Serena had never been happier. Opal got married in the spring of 1882. His name was Thomas Reed. He was the school teacher, Sarah's brother. He had come to visit his sister and ended up falling in love with the ranch owner's sister-in-law. Thomas was a quiet man with kind eyes and a gentle way about him. He taught mathematics at a small college in Bozeman. He wrote poetry that made Opal cry. He looked at her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Serena approved. You better take care of her, she told Thomas on the morning of the wedding, or I will hunt you down myself. Thomas smiled. I would expect nothing less, he said. Opal wore white and carried wildflowers. She cried through half the ceremony. Thomas cried through the other half. They moved to Bozeman but visited often. Opal's lungs stayed strong. Her art grew more beautiful every year. She sold paintings to galleries in Denver and San Francisco. She never forgot where she came from. And neither did Serena. 15 years after that first night in the Golden Spur Saloon, Serena stood on the porch of the Montclair Ranch and watched her children play in the yard. James was 14 now, tall and serious like his father, already talking about going to college to study engineering. He wanted to make mines safer. He wanted to make sure what happened to his grandfather never happened to anyone else. Rose was 12, bold and fierce with her mother's stubborn streak. She could ride better than any boy on the ranch, and she was not afraid to prove it. William was 9, quiet and bookish. He spent hours in the library reading everything he could find. Nash said he would be a professor someday. Pearl was 7, the baby of the family, sweet and wild and impossible to pin down. She followed the ranch hands around asking questions until they taught her how to rope, just to keep her busy. 4 children, each one different, each one loved beyond measure. Serena watched them chase each other through the grass and thought about the woman she used to be. The tired waitress in the patched dress, the woman who asked for one day off because she could not imagine asking for more. That woman felt like a stranger now. Nash stepped onto the porch and handed her a cup of coffee. His hair had gray in it now, and lines crinkled at the corners of his eyes when he smiled. He still looked at her the same way he had that first night, like she was something worth knowing. Penny. For your thoughts, he said. Serena took the coffee and wrapped her hands around its warmth. I was thinking about the Golden Spur, she said. Nash raised an eyebrow. That is a long time ago, 15 years. It feels like forever, and yesterday at the same time. Nash leaned against the porch railing. Do you remember what you said when I asked what you wanted most, he asked. Serena smiled. A day off. You were not joking. No, I was begging, and I did not even know it. They watched the children play in silence for a moment. And now, Nash asked. Serena looked at him. Now I have days, she said. Not easy days, not perfect days, but days where I can breathe, days where my sister is safe and healthy, days where my children laugh and grow, days where I am not just surviving anymore. Nash set down his coffee and pulled her into his arms. I love you, he said. Serena laughed. How many times today? Not enough. Nash kissed her forehead. Never enough. Serena turned in his arms to face him. She saw the man he had been, young and guilty and desperate to make amends. She saw the man he had become, strong and honest and devoted to his family. She saw the work it had taken to build something good from something broken. "I love you too," she said, "and I'm glad I did not settle for just one day off." Nash smiled that smile she loved, the one that made his whole face change. "So am I," he said. From the yard, Pearl shouted something about catching a frog. William yelled that frogs carried diseases. Rose laughed at both of them. James refereed with the patience of an old man. Serena watched her children and felt her heart swell. She thought about her father, James Hull, the man who had worked in mines and come home singing. The man whose name now lived on in a fund that had helped hundreds of families. She hoped he could see her somehow. She hoped he knew that his death had not been meaningless, that his name was still spoken, that his granddaughter carried wildflowers, and his grandson wanted to change the world. She hoped he was proud. Nash took her hand and squeezed it gently. "Come on," he said. "Let us go see about this frog." They walked down the porch steps together, into the golden afternoon light, into the chaos and joy of their family. Serena had asked for one day off. She had gotten a lifetime instead. The sun set over Montana in ribbons of gold and rose. Serena sat in her favorite chair on the porch, the same chair she had sat in for 20 years now. The wood was worn smooth from use. The cushion had been replaced 3 times. She was 50 years old. Her hair had silver in it. Her hands showed the marks of a life well lived, but her eyes were still sharp, her spirit was still fierce, and her heart was full. Nash sat beside her as he did every evening. Their coffee cups steamed in the cool air. The mountains glowed purple in the fading light. The children were grown now. James had become an engineer just like he promised. He worked for a mining company in Colorado where he redesigned safety systems and saved lives every day. He had a wife and 2 children of his own. Rose had married a rancher from Wyoming. She ran their spread with an iron will and a tender heart. Her letters came every month full of stories about cattle and horses and the daughter who looked just like her grandmother. William taught history at a university in San Francisco. He wrote books about the American West. He dedicated every one of them to his mother. Pearl had become a doctor, the first woman doctor in Montana Territory. She worked at a hospital in Helena but came home whenever she could. Opal and Thomas still lived in Bozeman. They had grown old together, surrounded by her paintings and his poetry. They visited the ranch every summer and stayed until the first snow. The James Hull Memorial Fund had helped over 1,000 families. The school in Red Creek had expanded 3 times. The clinic had grown into a proper hospital. Serena looked out at the land that had become her home and marveled at how far she had come. A waitress in a dusty saloon, a woman with nothing but a sick sister and a tired heart. Now she was a mother, a grandmother, a force for good in a world that had tried so hard to break her. Nash reached over and took her hand. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "Everything," Serena said. "Nothing. Just grateful, I suppose." "For what?" "For you. For the children. For Opal. For this life we built." Nash brought her hand to his lips and kissed it gently. "We built it together," he said. Serena smiled. "I know. That is what makes it matter." The last light faded from the sky. Stars began to appear one by one, the same stars that had shone over that first kiss in the thunderstorm, the same stars that had witnessed their wedding and the births of their children, the same stars that would shine long after they were gone. Serena thought about the girl she used to be, the one who worked double shifts and prayed for rest, the one who gave a joke instead of the truth because hope felt too dangerous. She wished she could go back and tell that girl something. She would tell her that it gets better, that love is real even when it comes from unexpected places, that strength is not about surviving alone, but about letting people help you, That asking for one day off is really asking for a whole new life. She would tell her to keep fighting. She would tell her it is worth it. Nash squeezed her hand. "I love you," he said. Serena looked at the man she had spent 20 years building a life with. The man who had started as a stranger with a terrible secret and become her partner in everything. "I love you too," she said. They sat together in the darkness watching the stars come out. Two people who had found each other against all odds, who had turned tragedy into purpose, who had built something beautiful from the ashes of something broken. Serena had asked for one day off. What she got was a legacy that would outlive them both. And that was worth more than gold. This content was carefully researched, developed, and manually edited by our team to deliver meaningful stories with valuable life lessons. Every narrative is crafted to entertain, inspire, and empower our audience. We believe that great stories can change lives, and we are committed to bringing you content that matters. Thank you for being part of our community.